Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to California. Don't forget your sunglasses. Let's go.
Sit back, sip that. You are now in California. Sniff that, relax. Where else can you lounge in morning? Back, rehab. You know that you really wanna get back, but we left 'cause we've seen it all before.
It's the one blow of the coke machine, the foundation of your broken dreams. But you're so used to f***ing them C's that you wanna move here just 'cause of the and D.O. double G said it was so. 215 medical, you ain't letting it go. You ready to blow, ready to grow, ready to pack it up, sell it, you doing some more. But now you having trouble eating, trouble sleeping, having trouble with your inner demons out all night. Hitting the clubs, hitting the they hit back pictures. What's up? Young 'cause you 26, hung 'cause you want this sprung 'cause you gotta keep you dumb and it's obvious. Out of towners, we can really spot them 'cause they dressing too warm, even if it's autumn. So you get taken, hustle the text, kid, they got nothing but beef for green like Atkins in LA. Oh, you heard it was fake, but they smile all day so their face really take that shape.
Sit back, sip that. You are now in California. Sniff that, relax. Where else can you lounge in morning? Back, rehab. You know that you really wanna get back, but we left 'cause we've seen it all before.
Oh, so you see now, these people don't even want to wear their jeans out of like a rebound. Where you wanna be now? Arcade is 10. The rate is more than a team now. Symbology and biology, marine style, south of the bay is true ecology. The Odyssey complete, Joshua Tree.
Hey, Horners! Welcome to Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw, following the Vikings versus the 49ers. The show will start shortly. All I gotta do is look below, look at the timer, and you'll see when it starts. But please keep with us, and remember, win or lose, there will be booze. Go Vikings! Can't wait to see you on the show.
Back, rehab. You know that you really wanna get back, but we left 'cause we've seen it all before.
Everybody, it's Dave, Drew, and Ted for this post-game Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw, and welcome to the off-season. Not the way we wanted to end it, obviously. Drew, how you doing?
I got a pretty good idea.
Great. Yeah.
Fuck. The smile I had 3 hours ago slid right down the crack of my ass after watching that.
Really? Like
Yeah,
sweat down the back of mine.
I was thinking leading up to this game, I was thinking we're on the back end. We're probably not going to win this thing, but I was thinking it'd be nice to have a nice classic game that took us down to the wire, and not that offensive shit show I had to sit through. That was.
Hey, we have our first comment from Nick Diaz. Exactly what I thought. Zimmer is an idiot, can't adjust and bring back Cheryl's and Zendaya.
I love 21st century media, man. Everybody's an idiot if they lose and a genius if they win.
That didn't take long.
No, it didn't. Ted, how are you doing?
Gentlemen, normally at this point in the show, I say if I was any better, I'd be against the law. I'm not doing so good right now. It was just a really. I put this on Twitter. And you guys have been fans, I think, even longer than I have. I've been doing this. I remember 1975. I remember most of 1974 and Super Bowl 8 and Super Bowl 9, 73 season. And I just every year it gets harder and harder to bounce back and do this. It just does, man. I mean, the only difference every year is our level of disappointment. Seriously. I mean, sometimes they go to the playoff. Sometimes they go one and done. Sometimes they make it to the NFC Championship. Back when we were kids, they went to the Super Bowl fairly regularly. They lost. So, I mean, I don't know. I just – this is just – what a terrible way to end your season and send off your fans with that game. Trying to digest that game and swallow it and put it into coherent thought and whatever, man. Whatever.
Oh,
just
I
talk.
have quite the
Somebody
coherent
talk,
thought,
I don't.
even though I'm quite well in. And today I am drinking a local brew, a double IPA called Magdalena. Beautiful IPA brewed here in Denver.
I'm glad you showed everybody because I'm sure people care.
I'm sure they do because it's a good beer. It's more on the bitter side of IPA versus the fruity side. And if you like that like I do, it's absolutely wonderful. But I've been viewing the Vikings. I went to my first game in 1969. And it has been 50 years since, and we still haven't pulled it off. So, this was just as disappointing in many aspects. And I said in the beginning, welcome to the off season. That's because we lost, and we lost miserably.
Thanks, Booger.
Yeah. I thought you'd like that.
When you lose, it's in the playoffs, you end up going to the off season. And you're not playing any more football.
All right. From viewers, we have Nick Diaz again going typical Vikings performance. Yeah, it sort of was. We have from one of our favorite and including Climbing the Pocket Network host, Eddie Van Halen, Mr. Edwin Broadmacher, at least his NDSU Bison won their 8th title in 9 years. Yes, we applaud you, Eddie, and the Bison for winning their national title.
About FCS football right now. I really don't. I really don't. Not one more word about the NDSU Bison. Not one more word. I want to vent about this football team.
Go ahead. You've got the floor.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm just done. Okay, I'm not done. Hey, guys, how are you?
I don't really know. Ted kind of said it perfectly in the intro there. This next year will be my 50th Viking season, 5-0. Today was my 21st divisional playoff game that I've sat through that they've had. Probably many more if you added up all the total games. But the ending of these seasons are always it's always a difficult day. And you want to ask me, I mean, how else? It's hard to talk after games like this because everybody's emotional one way or the other. I mean, it's just.
What do you mean one way or the other? The other is, yay, we did well this season. We got this far. Bullshit. That isn't the case.
There's 11-7 was the final. Was that the final tally of the record this season?
Yes.
I don't see. I mean, we were talking last week about if they spent too much emotionally in that Saints game and didn't have much left in the tank. But, you take away that Saints game and everything is right back to normal with this game. I mean, I don't see my biggest question to this whole game is, we could break it down and talk about the lack of this and the lack of that. But when you have offensive play, I know the Niners are good. They have a good defense, formidable defense. I know that.
They do.
I'm aware of that. They have a lot of good players on their defense. But I've watched them over the course of the last month, and they weren't as good as they were today. I don't know how you can have such an inept offense with players like Thielen and Diggs. We go through the list I don't know what I saw today.
And Dalvin Cook. Don't forget Dalvin Cook. And Kirk Cousins. Don't forget Kirk Cousins.
The play calling was terrible. The execution was terrible.
Speaking of play calling, do you think Kevin Stefanski gets the Cleveland job?
No, I don't give a fuck what he does.
Yeah, honestly, right now I don't care.
He's not.
I mean,
look at his play calling in that Monday night game and look at tonight. I mean, come on. What do you want?
They didn't go to the 2-minute drill until about 3 minutes left in the game when they were 3 scores down.
Shoddy all day. Vikings had one good drive. Don't tell me they had 10 points, made it 2 good drives, because that other fucking one came after Kendricks caught the interception. They didn't drive. They just kicked it.
Heck of a play by Kendricks.
Yeah, but that wasn't a drive. That wasn't a drive that earned a field goal.
No, it wasn't.
They had one good drive today. One fucking good one.
Yeah, they went 7 3-and-outs. 7. You got to be kidding me. 2 or 3 and we're usually bitching, but 7. Come on.
The thing that frustrates me, other than what we've talked about, the history of the franchise and having to deal with this in some level of disappointment year after year, is that this is probably the last year that this iteration of the Vikings as we know it is going to be together. I mean,
without a doubt.
I saw something like they're $4 or $5 million over the cap right now.
Oh,
they're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions on guys who are coming back and guys who aren't coming back. Yeah, Cook's going to be back, and Cousins and Thielen and Diggs and a good chunk of the offensive. Well, is Riley Reif going to be back? Is Pat Elflein going to be back? I mean, Elflein will be back. He's still on his rookie contract. Is Everson Griffin going to be back? How about
the defense will obviously get younger.
There are just is Xavier Rhodes going to be back? Is Trey Wayne's going to be back? I mean, we are looking at a probably more roster upheaval, especially on defense. We're looking at potentially 4 or 5 starters leaving, depending on how contracts.
Wait a sec, though. But when Zimmer puts his foot in the door and says, "I'm keeping this guy and this guy and this guy," who's to say those guys are gone? He's the one that makes the call.
They're going to be gone because of
fucking long
salary cap issues.
Drew, I don't think he can keep those guys because of the salary cap, like Dave said. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they can figure something out. Okay, that's cool. But now you have to ask yourself, well, okay, let's say everybody can come back. Everybody, Stefanski, Zimmer, the starting
they're
22.
coming back, obviously.
How's it going to be any different then?
Thank you.
How the fuck is it going to be any different?
Better. Is next year going to be better? If you bring the exact 22 and the same coaching staff and all that, is it going to be better? Is there going to be some substantive improvement? I don't know.
No, it won't be.
And a lot of people answer that with, well, who are we going to get that's going to be better? I'm worried about somebody that's going to be better. Well, worrying about the future is no reason to keep doing something that's wrong, in my eyes. I mean, you kind of try to do something to make it better.
You're 100% correct, Drew. You got to do something that makes it better. Now, some of those guys on the defense will not come back, whether it be Griffin, whether it be Waynes, whether it be Rhodes. They're not going to come back. It's just
who's not back here next year? Ted? Who's not back? Ted's pretty good with his lists. He's pretty accurate. I got these lists on my wall that say Ted Glover. They're usually pretty accurate.
Just off the top of my head, I don't have salaries in front of me, but Everson Griffin has a lot of dead money on his contract they could cut or they could restructure. Trey Waynes is an unrestricted free agent because they exercised his 5th-year option. Here's a surprise. This is a name I'm going to throw out, and people are going to go, "Oh, you're stupid," or "You're an idiot," and I want to hear every single comment that comes across, Dave. But Harrison Smith is owed a lot of money next year, and he's 31 or 32 now. And you got guys like Anthony Harris playing pretty good football. I'm not saying they're going to cut Harrison Smith. I think that would be dumb. But look for maybe a restructure on his part. Linval Joseph seems to be like a guy that might not be back. He's got a big cap number, and he's battled injuries the last 2 years, and he's 32 or 33, I think. I mean, guys, Barr's going to be back. Kendricks will be back. You're looking at potentially both your starting cornerbacks being gone in Rhodes and
Waynes.
And Trey Waynes. I mean, Xavier Rhodes has a huge cap number next year, and he played pretty poorly for a better part of the season. I mean, so now...
And he was targeted today on the first series or couple series of the game. San Francisco targeted him back to back to back to back, and he gave up yards.
So, I mean, you're looking at, what is that, 5 guys off the top of my head that might either restructure or go on offense. You've got Kyle Rudolph.
Wait, let me stop you there. Let me stop you at the 5 people on defense. That's a big rebuild right there.
It's huge. It's huge.
And that's not talking about the offense.
No, that's what I said.
I don't think people understand the amount of transition that's going to happen next year.
It's going to be easily
and now
a third.
You're talking about, well, is Kevin Stefanski going to go to, he's been rumored to take the head coaching job in Cleveland. And now you're looking at another offensive coordinator, which would be like the 6th guy, I think, in 7 years for Zimmer.
Just go get Shermer. I mean,
I agree with you.
You tell me Shermer's not as good as what I saw today? I mean,
well, I mean,
or does Kubiak just become the OC? I mean,
here's the thing with Shermer. Everybody talks about just plug in Shermer, and on the surface that seems like a logical solution. However, Pat Shermer's been an offensive coordinator in this league for how long? 15, 20 years? Whatever it is.
Long time.
He's run his own offense without any help from anybody, and he's done a pretty good job. He's been a head coach twice. If I'm Pat Shermer and Mike Zimmer calls me and says, "Hey, you want to come work for me and Gary Kubiak?"
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see your.
No, I don't. I want to run my own. I want to run my own offense. We did pretty good in 2017, Mike. What's wrong with what we did then? You know what I mean? So
that makes a lot of sense actually, because he kind of does like to do his own thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, what does Mike Zimmer need more of? If Wilf called in Zimmer tomorrow and says, "Jesus, dude, what do you want? You have 2 offensive you have an offensive whatever you want to run. You have 2 coordinators, right? Which is more than what everybody else has. I mean, what do you have? An assistant? What does he call? What's Kubiak called? Assistant to the head coach, to the offense, to the whatever. You got that. You got Stefanski. You got a kicking coach. I gave you this. You got these players. What more does he need to get over the hump? Especially if you got to rebuild the defense.
He's gotten every single player on defense he's wanted. You know what I would say this team needs?
What's that?
More aggression from the coaching staff. There were. I mean,
it's a great point. It's a great point.
There were times, the Vikings went into halftime down 14-10. They played about as poorly as they could have on offense, and they were within 1 score of leading that football game. San Francisco got the ball, came out and got a field goal, and it was still a 1-score game. And the Vikings, Stefanski, whether it was from Zimmer on high saying run the ball, don't make any mistakes, I don't know. I'm not obviously on the sideline. But it felt like that would have been the perfect time to try some no huddle or some up tempo or something to try and get the offense kick started. I kind of fully expected it. When you saw how disjointed they were in that Denver game, and they came out in the second half and went no huddle the whole second half, and they I don't know. It just feels like the coaching staff, They not only got outplayed on the line, on both sides of the ball, they got completely outcoached. But on offense and defense.
Why, if you're stagnant like they did in the Bronco game, at least they changed it that one game. Why just continue to do the same shit? Why not try something different? The Vikings have been known to just do the same things. So just keep running in molasses. It's like the same thing over and over, and it gets frustrating from watching it. Going, I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same fucking thing over and over again.
Try it works.
Try some no huddle. Try to do something. It's just that wasn't.
But you mentioned it. A key to this game was that the defensive line of San Francisco beat up on the offensive line of the Vikings.
The 49ers O-line absolutely piss-pounded the Vikings D-line all day. I mean, you're getting 6-7 yards on first down.
Well, yes, but there was pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. But the
not really.
San Francisco.
The second half, they didn't need to pass.
Right.
That was just it.
It was like 11 straight freaking running plays.
Yeah, because the offensive line of the Vikings couldn't hold the defensive line of the San Francisco, who was a good defensive line. Hey, San Francisco's good. That's why they were the number 1 seed. But it showed the weakness to the Vikings. If the Vikings' offensive line was better, we probably would have had a better chance of winning this game, which shows the weakness over the last 6 years of the Vikings, which is not paying attention to the offensive line. The only good player they had was O'Neal, who went out with a concussion today. They need to focus on the offensive line.
I don't know. The Atlanta Falcons have a pretty piss-poor offensive line, and they went into Santa Clara and beat the Niners a month ago. So I don't really – what do you want to do? What are you going to do? The problem with the game is how it was unfolded, and we talked on the thread saying if you're going 3 and out and the other team's putting together drives, 3 and out drive, 3 and out drive, by about 4 or 5 times of doing that, by the second half, your defense is worn down and you can't stop shit. That's what happened. I saw it happen because it was happening.
Kevin Stefanski had some very questionable play calling all day.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if it was he was calling deep shots and Kirk was checking down. I don't know. But there was a point where there was a point where he was checking down or dumping off to Dalvin. And like the 5th or 6th time it got -1 or -2 yards, I was thinking to myself, let's try something new.
Sala knew that screen was coming all day. He knew it. He watched tape and he knew that's our bread and butter. Besides running that zone to the outside, which we didn't do much today, that screen was sniffed out every time by Quan Alexander, and he kept going back to it. Keep grabbing that fucking scalding water off the stove. Keep grabbing it. Oh, yeah, I burned the shit out of my hand. Oh, I burned it again. Where was the fucking rollouts? Where's the play action? Where's Kirk getting out of the pocket? Get him out of the pocket.
There were 2, and he got eaten alive on both times.
Not difficult.
And speaking of which, I need to eat crow, and I will eat crow. I said all season or virtually all season, that if Kirk Cousins hits a deep pass early, we get good Kirk. Well, he hit that deep pass early to Stephon Diggs. And guess what? After that, it went to shit. So I am going to eat crow. Fried, sauteed, however it is.
That pass was poorly underthrown, and Diggs came back and caught it.
Well, I agree there, but at least it was a good deal. But anyways, I'll eat crow. I admit it.
Dave.
What's that, Ted?
How much have you had to drink, my man?
Holy shit.
I am going on my second 6-pack of IPAs at 8.4. Was it 8.4 or 8.3? 8.2 ABV.
Dude, you can do a live breathalyzer on air with Dave.
Oh, I couldn't drive right now. What are you drinking, Ted? Put that back up.
Independence Harbor Amber Ale.
Ah, nice. You're at least moving to an ale. Eventually, I'll move you to IPAs.
No, you won't. No, you won't. The day you move me to IPAs will be the day Kevin Stefanski decides to go on a no-huddle offense down 14 points late in the third quarter.
No, piggyback a little bit. Go back to what Ted was saying about the first half, how it unfolded. We had like 4 first downs and 75 total yards, and we're only down by 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that I start seeing it in the second half. This fucking defense can't stop the defense.
It's the offense.
Why is it always everybody falls down on the sure, they gave up a couple drives, but this is modern day football. If you're holding somebody in the 20s, you should have. I mean, god damn, it's so frustrating to watch. It got to the point in the fourth quarter where I was actually thinking if the Vikings got this football 30 more times, they wouldn't score.
Yeah.
Drew, you are 100% correct.
It didn't start out like the Chicago game, like back in week 4. By the end of the third quarter, it sure felt like it.
All right. We have a new fan calling saying, I'd rather have David in his current state calling plays than Stefanski. Oh, yes.
I'll eat crow.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. Without a doubt.
I didn't hear any of that. So.
We have another one. Not Kevin, but Kirk Cousins never takes his eye off the primary receiver. This is from Billy the Kid.
That's not true. No, I
don't agree that's true either. Now,
I'm going to disagree
checking down, obviously, but the San Francisco defense did have a lot of our receivers covered. We watched that the whole game.
Yeah. San Francisco had a great D plan today. They did.
They really did.
I got to hand it to them. And I hope they whoop the shit out of whoever wins the game tomorrow.
That's what happens when you spend time game planning on the other team. You actually have a plan.
I thought, even it was 14-10 at halftime, and then the 49ers got the ball and went up. It took the opening drive and kicked the field goal. And I thought, all right, as poorly as everything has gone, if the Vikings can put a drive together here and score a touchdown, it kind of changes the whole dynamic of the game. And Cousins threw that interception, and whether Thielen stopped on the route or Cousins threw a bad throw, I don't care. Right. It was an interception. And I kind of knew in my heart the game was over after that interception. The 49ers ran 7 or 8 straight times. They utterly imposed their will on the Vikings defense. And you can say, Drew, I agree with you. The Vikings offense didn't do the defense any favors. They didn't. 3 and out, 3. How many 3 and outs do they have? 8 today? But that drive coming off of that interception, when you run 8 straight times,
yeah,
and score a touchdown, that was
the backbreaker.
It was, and I'm like, well, San Francisco is a better team, and the Vikings, barring some really fluky, miraculous plays, are not going to win this game.
I mean, I keep pointing back to doing the same shitting thing over and over. What do they talk about when they have 8 3 and outs? When they keep running off the field, doesn't anybody on that sideline have a brain to think of the possibility? Let's try something different. I mean, why not? They were in second and long all day. All day. How many?
No.
They were in fucking second and long all day.
There was quite a few.
That poor shit.
Quite a few points where they were third and short.
What does that
when? But
when?
They still didn't.
What does that have to do with first
they didn't.
Second
they
long?
Still didn't produce drives out of it. That's the issue,
buddy. Dalvin Cook had 9 carries for 18 yards.
Oh, no, I'm not saying he did great, but there was quite a few points where they were third and 3, third and 2.
Dalvin Cook had 6 receptions for 8 yards.
Now, we've got quite a few responses. Climb in the pocket. Thanks, Nick. That's because he's hammered. Talking about me. We have, let's see, Nick Diaz. Dave is slurring his work. LOL. Absolutely. Yes. We have, this is the best name so far, the Duckbacker. On a side note, this day is the 50th anniversary of our Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, Super Bowl IV. It was the 20th year an old seaman in the U.S. Navy. Well, yes, it was, Mr. Duckbacker. It's the 20th, or it's the anniversary of that loss. And again, we lost, which is the Vikings tradition.
I don't care, Dave. I don't care. I don't care. Honest to God. I mean, there were times when the Vikings were in a position to win this game. In the first half, Jimmy Garoppolo was teetering. They had brought pressure. They had him looking uneasy. He was making some bad throws, and then Kendricks got that interception right before halftime, and it felt like the Vikings had an opportunity to score and maybe take control of this game. And for whatever reason, call it coaching, call it the players on the field, call it scheming, call it whatever, they couldn't. And again, we talk about this, the Vikings being able to get to a certain level and not being able to get over that hump. And that today was a prime example of that, man. And when you're paying guys, Cousins, and it's not Cousins, but he's the guy with the big contract. But Cousins and Diggs and Thielen, those guys are making what, $60 million between them, and you got 129 yards passing. Jack, you got a problem. I mean, you do. 172 yards passing. 172 yards passing. You got an offensive line. You got an offensive line that's better at the lookout block against good teams than imposing their will. And the team you want to be, the 49ers, completely dominated you for the better part of 3 quarters today.
Mm-hmm.
Pushed around and embarrassed.
Here talking about Super Bowl IV. I don't care about Super Bowl IV. Don't care. I mean, I care. I would like to have seen them win one, but whatever.
Did you know?
Tell me how you're going to get better next year. Don't tell me about how we sucked 50 years ago.
Right, and that's the problem with the Vikings. We're old. This
team has no correlation on what happened 50 years ago.
Amen.
They don't.
Well, I agree. But the rest of the Climbing the Pocket network, right, are generally a generation before or after us, right? They're younger guys. They're millennials. They're Gen Zers, right? But they're coming into this going, hey, this is unacceptable.
I don't know.
Is
what are we doing?
This is what we see. And we're the ones going, hey, we've been there since 1969. And this shit is the same.
I don't know, man. I just for as good of a run as Mike Zimmer's had over the last 6 years, and it's been a pretty good run.
And he will go into the 7th.
There's coaching staffs that have had a lot worse periods over a 6-year time.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
This offseason is going to be critical, and I am having a hard time right now. And again, we got free agency in the draft, but I'm having a hard time finding out, getting to a place where come training camp this time next year, this team will be better than they are right now. And if they're not better, what are you doing? If you're not trying to get better, what are you doing? You're wasting my time.
Well, if that's the case, Ziggy Wilt gives
my time.
Spillman and Zimmer just a 1-year extension.
I mean, yeah, Zimmer's not going to get fired. Spielman's not going to get fired. They're Cousins isn't going to get cut. They're all tied to 2020. So what do we look right now? Right now, today, this very second, off an emotional loss in the playoffs, how are we viewing the 2020 Minnesota Vikings? Are they a lame duck season? Is it a lame duck team?
Yeah.
Are they a team in transition with we're going to fire everybody and get a new coaching staff and a new GM after they go
No.
6-10, 7-9? What? Well, I mean, where do you guys see? Are they going to be better than 10-6 and in the playoffs this time next year? Because
No.
right now, I don't know. I don't know. That's a very
You have to rebuild you have to rebuild a defense, and you can't do it with free agency. You don't have any money.
no. You don't.
And you
So you're going
obviously
to
have to build up.
another stellar draft. I mean, you're going to have to hit it again in the draft, which I think this last draft was pretty good, but I look at what I saw out there today, and it's a continual problem of a team that doesn't play with any intensity, and that's my biggest problem. You want to break it down to the players. That's fine, and I'm glad we had that little discussion about the 5 players on defense, because that's good information and that's good knowledge. But I look overall at the discipline of the team, and the tantrums on the sideline, and overall they have these games where they don't really look like they're that into it. And like I said, the 49ers have a good defense, but the Vikings aren't flying around to the football. They're almost playing just to get through the game. Let's just get it over with. I don't see a lot of fire there, and that's where you really build a team around. So I don't know what they're going to do next year. Feels like a 9-7 team all over again. Tell me how it's going to get better with less money.
Exactly. With 5 less players on defense, probably 3 or 4 on offense, not a lot of cap money, or enough cap money to maybe sign 1 or 2 guys. You're gonna have to nail your draft again.
Yes,
I don't know.
that's the key. The draft.
There's a problem.
And we're
offensively.
what? Drafting 24, 25 minimum?
The offensive problems with this team are still existent. They followed Zimmer through his whole tenure here. I mean, he's built a good defense. He's built a defense to keep him in football games. I know that. He's done very well on the defensive side of the ball, but this year we got past the DiFilippo thing. We got Kubiak, Stefanski. All right, we got it figured out. In some games, yeah, sure, we did have it figured out. But then there's these absolute horrible displays of performance that I saw today, the Monday night game against that team from Wisconsin, and it makes me scratch my head thinking, wow, there's a
team this talented. My beef this year and last year is that a team this talented on paper, that there's no excuse they should perform that poorly. Nobody's going 16-0. I'm not asking for 16-0. Sure. I'm asking for effort. And they're, in critical moments this year, and it's not Kirk Cousins' fault. It's not. But man, they just got dominated by the 49ers, and it's like they didn't care. And that's
right.
Generalization. I'm sure they did care. I mean, nobody likes to be dominated like that, but the problems this team has had for 4 years now, going back to the offensive line, are the same freaking problems, man. The same freaking problems, and we're still talking about the offensive line, and we're still talking about quarterback play, and we're still talking about
the same shit. So how does it fucking change next year?
Your lips to God's ears. I don't know, man.
Free agency. It's the only way it can.
They don't have any
Nick
money.
Diaz says jumping on the Ravens bandwagon. Well, Nick, go ahead. We're diehard Vikings fans. We will live and die by the Vikings, even if it causes us pain and cardiac issues. We've been here 5+ decades. Sorry, buddy. You jump on the Ravens, go purple, but we're sticking with the Vikings. And we know that in the offseason, and we'll discuss it many times, what they need to advance and get better.
You have to be more consistent. And I know that sounds like a real old, that's just general, but that's the best word I can come up with. The Vikings are too inconsistent of a football team.
And that comes from coaching. And the thing that bothers me, and I hate to bag on Mike Zimmer because I think overall he's been a good coach. Yet you're going into 2020 with him on a 1-year deal, Rick Spielman on a 1-year deal, and Kirk Cousins on a 1-year deal. It just feels like already that this team is waiting for the first sign of trouble to pull the plug, fire everybody, and start a complete rebuild and overhaul. Which there's gonna be some sort of transition, but now you're looking at do you if you don't want to do that, do you extend Zimmer and Spielman and keep going on with the same stuff we've been dealing with for the last 4 or 5 years? I don't know, man.
How many years do you get? How many years do you get as a head coach?
You know what? There's only been a handful of coaches, 4 or 5, I think, that have won a Super Bowl after the initial 5 years with that team.
I mean, can you start handing out contracts for guys who have one good game? Because everybody's saying, well, that Saints game gave him another year. Isn't that what he's supposed to be doing every week? Is to be that competitive every week? Isn't that what you want?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly believe that Saints win bought him 2020.
It
absolutely
did buy
did.
him 2020. But
should it?
If you look at his numbers, he's a winning coach, right? And there are few and far between in the NFL.
Here's the thing.
Billy the Kid says, damn, guys, with this forecast, it looks like I will be jumping off the roof next year. Well, that's not the case. Billy the Kid, trust me, in the new year, we will have some new players and a new outlook. So who knows? Keep the optimism up, because that's what it takes to be a Vikings fan. Without it, you can't be.
Here's the thing, Drew.
Yeah.
Do you remember 6 or 7 years ago, maybe it was, the Bears went 10-6 and missed the playoffs, and they fired Lovie Smith, and they hired, I think it was Mark Trestman.
Right.
And they absolutely went in the tank.
Sure.
I mean, do I have issues with Mike Zimmer? I do. But, man, it's just hard justifying firing the guy. I mean, he went 10-6, won a playoff game. But I agree with you when you say, well, now you're looking at 2020, and it's just kind of this – it's just like it's setting up for a lame duck season. I don't know. This franchise is really at a crossroads right now. I firmly believe this franchise is at a huge crossroads right now. And what happens next year is going to affect the franchise positively or negatively for 6 or 7 years moving forward. And
right
brother,
now,
I don't have 6 or 7 years to deal with
that's
Minnesota Vikings football. I don't.
That's very well said. That's very well said, and I don't think the Trestman thing is really a good deal of why you just don't get rid of a coach because you're angry and get rid of a coach. But I'm looking at 2020, what you just mentioned, the guys on the 1-year deal. You know what this feels like? This is what it felt like to those early boxers in time.
Oh no, we lost YouTube, or not YouTube, but Skype again.
Something that's going to make it different from what I just saw. Because
there was only one Buster Douglas, only one.
I mean, and if Zimmer can't get it done through these years, I mean, he built a good defense. 2017, done this. If it's going to regress and lose 5 guys on defense, if the whole thing is going to be harder for him to do, if he couldn't do it before, how's he going to get it done when it's harder to do? I don't mean that from firing him. If he can get it done. But the chore ahead is harder.
Or the offensive standpoint.
It is.
The road ahead is harder.
It is.
Next year's team, after what we just talked about and everything Ted just mentioned with the personnel, it's going to be harder to get to the Super Bowl than it was this year, with the cap strap and all that. So Zimmer's chore just got harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt LaFleur went 13-3 in his first year as a coach. Just throwing that out there. Matt Nagy went 12-4, 13-3 last year. Just throwing that out there.
Hey, but we're going to get Mike Zimmer back. That's already determined. So we look forward to 2020. With that, let's wrap up this show. Drew, any last words?
No, not really.
Okay.
I wanted to keep talking about this. Maybe we could have another show and do another wrap-up thing because I have plenty more on my mind I want to talk about.
Oh, trust me, we go into the off season.
as much as you want to think everything's peachy with everything with the coaching staff, there is a
I
fucking
don't think so.
disconnect on the Minnesota Vikings offensively. There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Whether Kubiak is wanting to do plays or Stefanski feels like his hands are, something is wrong. But what I saw today, something is wrong.
That's a great word, Drew. Disconnect. That is a very good word. Yeah.
Ted, any last words?
No. I mean, yeah. Okay, cool. 10-6. Beat the Saints.
To our fans,
Draft, baby. Hang on. Wait. Draft, baby. We'll see you in Vegas.
To our fans,
my draft stuff.
Welcome to the off season.
Ernie?
It started a little bit before we wanted it to, but we're here. And Good Morning Gallahorn will have content throughout it. Come join us in the future as we talk NFL draft, the postseason, everything else, free agency, as we go into 2020. Yeah, we're excited. Yay.
Fired up, man. Let's go.
See you next week. And as always, Skol Vikings!